So, Hero Factory. Hey, Belt!
Dun, dun, dun.
Thank you. So yeah, Hero Factory. Probably the most controversial subject in the toy division of media. Ever since it replaced Bionicle in mid-2010, Bionicle fans have been up in arms at this replacement. But are the fans actually right? Is Hero Factory a crime against God himself? Or is it an underrated toy line that doesn't deserve the hate? Now keep in mind, these are my own opinions based upon what I feel are good evidence and facts, so be respectful, and no hate comments please. If you dare disregard this, I have Lucarian and all my other monks who haven't died on Bionicle Legacy yet, just on standby to attack your house, your neighborhood, and even your country if needed. Okay, before I sound like a terrorist, let's move on. Alright, first things first. Why Bionicle died in the first place? I can hear you saying, because LEGO ended the story, or because they wanted to use that terrible Hero Factory, which we burned and then treated eaten by Godzilla. While the latter is true, in a sense, the main reason, well, just actually maybe you. Now, a lot of information in this part I got from the Three Virtues Bionicle Autopsy videos, so credit goes to him. If you do some research, it's clear that LEGO was going to expand on the Bionicle story. There was mention that Bionicle the Legend Reborn was supposed to be the first in the trilogy, which I actually would have liked to see. Heck, the ending of the movie hinted at a sequel, which is usually not the best way to end a movie. The Elemental Lords, which you can find more about in the Bionicle Wikipedia, were intended to be in the story, and also plans to include a planet with robotic dinosaurs for the main focus in a later year. Because who doesn't like robot dinos? Oh, well, you don't count. So what exactly happened? Well, after 2006 dark and awesome year, Bionicle was pretty much LEGO's top-selling theme, and pretty much half the boys in the country had at least one Bionicle. However, after that, the series' popularity slowly declined for some reason. Yes, it was still one of LEGO's top-selling brands, but never again received the highest praise it had gotten. So LEGO had to be prepared in case Bionicle did fall for popularity, so they planned for a new theme to eventually take its place, which in this case was Hero Factory. A minor reason that may have also led to Bionicle's end was that the fans demanded a final showdown between Anu and Makuta, but I found that on Wikipedia, and as you know, Wikipedia can't always be trusted. But this last reason, oh, this is the icing on the cake.
Cake.
Shut up, Grandma! It came from a Bionicle fan website named BZ Power. You might say, what? That was to celebrate Bionicle. We did nothing but good. Or did you?
Dun, dun.
Thank you for being prompt this time. Actually, I never heard of BZ Power until I watched the Three Virtues video about it, so forgive me if I get some of these next few facts wrong. Along with BZ Power, and a few other Bionicle fan websites, but if this was the Bible, BZ Power would be Goliath. Over time, and due to a series of events, BZ Power became a monopoly, and there were no other fan sites. Things were going well, but then BZ Power suffered from a string of technical issues that the site shut down for months at a time. The decrease in popularity I mentioned earlier? Yeah, this is most likely a major factor. Without any other websites to turn to, the fans had nowhere to praise Bionicle, which in turn made LEGO think that the fans were leaving them. That might not sound like it's your fault, but it's a hacker's fault. But you fans call this monopoly, not LEGO or the hackers. So with all this, it's quite possibly just as much as your fault as it is LEGO's. And with all this mixed together, LEGO had to rush to get something out in 2012. So we got the crap that is the Bionicle stars. The only good to come out of Bionicle 2010 was a narrative Michael Dorn gave, who, fun fact, shares the same birthday as me, which I thought tied the questions that we may have had well, and we got detox out of it, which is always a plus. Now, some of you may be thinking that I've been rambling thus far, but I still think these are good points. But now, let's talk about Hero Factory itself.
Dun, dun.
Okay, that's enough, Belt. You're overdoing it now. Now, if you've watched Mania Max 1613's top 5 best and worst things about Hero Factory, which I do recommend you see, there are good qualities about Hero Factory. One thing is introducing a new building style, which is currently called Ultra Build. You may say, but Bionicle did too. That is true, in a way. The early Bionicle pieces, if you look close enough, are pretty much modified Technic bricks. Heck, it was part of the Technic theme during its early years. Plus, Ultra Build does have a few trump cards. For one thing, it slowly introduced us to Ultra Build rather than giving it to us all at once. I mean, how well do you think you or any other fans would react if that actually happened? Yeah, probably an even worse reaction than Hero Factory is currently getting. Hero Factory's first half year had modified Bionicle pieces before introducing Ultra Build the following year. And while the upgrade cliche is overused, it gets the job done pretty well if I do say so myself. Ultra Build has also gone into several other LEGO themes, such as superheroes and Legends of Chima. Did Bionicle do any of that? I thought not. Well, you could make the argument that Ben 10 did it, but it didn't really use Bionicle pieces, not to mention it had very few pieces, making it a pretty disappointing theme. But what I personally believe is Ultra Build's best trump card, and your mind will be blown about this, the pieces don't break as easily. Contrary to what some may believe, Legos can break. You wouldn't believe how angry I've been that I couldn't use a piece just because it was broken. Ultra Build pieces were much thicker, and thus could last longer. When it comes to compatibility with each other, I think both sides are equal. Bionicle and Hero Factory go so well together, it's like a match made in heaven. If you look on YouTube, nearly every BioTuber has used a combo of Bionicle and Hero Factory on at least one of them, and both have expanded the creative options you can use for mock making. So, if anything, it did a world of good. The only downside I see to Ultra Build are that the sets using them are smaller. Honestly, put a Bionicle and Hero Factory set of the same price next to each other and you can see the difference. I will admit, I do prefer Bionicle's building style, specifically what was set during 2006, but is Ultra Build bad? Not in any sense. But now we go into the more controversial areas, the parts Bionicle fans hate about Hero Factory. First, we'll look at the characters. Okay, I'll admit, the characters are not Hero Factory's forte. They have mostly bland and cliched personalities and are mostly very similar to each other. They clearly have personalities on their biographies, but really don't see much of it. We do see it at the start of the TV series, but then, well, I'll get into that later. But in my rulebook, characters don't have to be round in order to be likable. Look at the Uzma Kappa gang from Monsters University, or the dwarves from The Hobbit. Fairly one-sided and not much given personalities, but are still likable. Unfortunately, the characters really don't have much going for them. No charm, no humor, at least good humor, and nothing really interesting to offer. The Bionicle characters have great and unique personalities. Hero Factory got nothing for me. So that point goes to the fans. Then there are the sets. Some say the sets are horrible, like XT4 and Voltex. Well, yes, Voltex bad. Bionicle has had its share of bad sets as well. In my opinion, the Bullrock Kyle were just cheap copies of the original Bullrock, without much changes. The only differences were a recoloring, a print on its head, and a new shield piece, which if you look closely, is pretty much the same one as the original Bullrock. We also have this mess called Umbra. Now the concept is interesting, being able to travel at light speed, but he feels so much like a rushed last minute character. Look, green, yellow, silver, black, just what? And for the third time in a row, when newest mask is used, it doesn't even fit the color scheme. But Hero Factory does have a lot of good sets. Some of my favorites include the breakout version of Furno, Pyrox, Core Hunter, and Witch Doctor. But if those topics weren't controversial, then these last two are. First is the TV show.
Dun, dun.
Now is coward killing time! That's for that!
I'm warning you. A TV show was made by the same company who made the fourth Bionicle movie, Tussletown Toons, which I believe they did a decent job on. And I should have brought a flame shield for this. I actually enjoyed the original 4 episodes of the show.
Say what?
Yes, you heard me right. I liked it. Now, it wasn't perfect, and there was some very poor execution in the last episode. Like, how do they know that Vaughn Nebula is behind this? And his defeat? Nowhere near as epic as Bakuda's. Sorry, Mark Hamill. We still love your Joker. But otherwise, it was decent. But then it went downhill. The show slowly became worse as the episodes went by. When I saw the newest episode, I was not impressed at all. It wasn't terrible, but I only gave it a 5 out of 10, which is an IGN score of mediocre. I mean, come on. I know that it was made by a different animating company, but honestly, the voice actors don't, for the most part, don't sound like their normal selves. For example, Surge sounds more like Next, Furno's voice is too deep, and Bulk doesn't even sound black. Now that is a sin. Now, some of you may say that the show only seemed to get worse because I was getting older and hating the dumbness of the things I used to enjoy, and that may be true. But if you want proof, look no further than the characters. Look at Stormer, tough, no nonsense, and in charge. And we saw that for many of the episodes. But then why is Furno giving orders in the Brain Attack episode? Did the writers forget who Stormer actually is? But to me, the worst offender is Evo. Now, when he was introduced in the Ordeal of Fire episode, he seemed like the cliched, calm, quiet ninja. I would have settled for that, but when we see him again in the Breakout episode, we see that not only has a new voice actor, but his personality has changed completely. Now he's more of an unsure rookie who has Furno for advice and talks more often. That personally wouldn't be so bad. In fact, it's one of the more interesting ones, if it wasn't so different from his original personality. Character development, not that fast and not that dramatic. Now you may be asking,
You're defending Hero Factory. Why are you complaining about the show?
well, everything does have its pros and cons, and the show, unfortunately, is one of the cons. Besides, at least in my eyes, it's not the show that we need to be complaining about. You know by now that there are 2 other LEGO shows, Ninjago and Legends of Chima. Now, after seeing Hero Factory, I was really excited to see Ninjago. Did it live up to my expectations? Nope. It's not that the show was bad, but it's uninteresting. It's nothing for me to care about anything or anyone, and most of the time I would have rather been doing something else. It did have some funny moments. Heck, one scene got into my Bionicle randoms. But the rest of the humor was more a miss than hit. Then we have Chima. Okay, I'll be honest. I only saw 1 episode, not even all of it. But
Dudes, it's just a mellow stroll through the woodlands.
enough said. It's pretty much the same as Ninjago. Uninteresting, only with some bad voice acting. So what's the point of this explanation? Do you hear any hate for them? No, just for Hero Factory. So it's the animation studio's fault. The only fault LEGO has is still using them. But then again, it's also LEGO's fault for switching over to a new animation studio who seem to be doing a worse job. Look at the LEGO games. Much better humor and characters. Take lessons, animation studios. Then we come to the story. People have complained that the story of Hero Factory is awful, uninspired, and pales in comparison to Bionicle's. Uninspired? Yes. But Bionicle's story did have some flaws as well. While it was great, what cliche pops up almost every year? A treasure hunt. 2001 was the Konoe masks. 2002, the Krana. 2003, the Konoe Nuva and the 7th Toa. Noticing the trend here? The only year where there wasn't treasure hunt was 2009. Also, all the extra stories that Greg Varsity was writing never finished. Whatever happened to Toa Leiwa? Why is that Vorax able to talk? Did the Toa Maori get rescued? Now, I know that Mr. Varsity is writing other stories for LEGO. Can at least give us something to wrap it up. It's been more than 3 years. But about Hero Factory's story, every time it's usually beat the villains and we have some new gadget. Now, after Bionicle's great story, seeing this is disappointing. But maybe we shouldn't be comparing Hero Factory's story to Bionicle's. Look at the stories of LEGO's other themes. Simple and usually very similar to Hero Factory's. Heck, the earliest LEGO themes had virtually no story whatsoever. The closest we ever got to interesting stories were from Exoforce, Knight's Kingdom, Ninjago, and Chima, but even then, they were nowhere near as epic and complex as Bionicles. LEGO's not making a bad story, they're just doing their normal. Besides, LEGOs were made so you can make up your own stories. You want to make it epic? Go right ahead. While I would have preferred Hero Factory's story to be more complex like Bionicles, it's not worth all the hissy fits that people are giving it. Now, while all of these are great points, there's one last thing I want to bring up. You Bionicle fans. While I can sympathize with you, we are getting nothing for overhating Hero Factory. The one thing you are doing is hurting the people who like Hero Factory. Idiot Guard said it in a video himself that Hero Factory fans are stupid. Well, saying that is pretty stupid as well. Yes, Hero Factory fans actually exist. Heck, one guy has a video complaining about Bionicle. Now, before you all go and flame and hate him, let me say that your fan base is very similar to others. You see, when I'm not loving Legos, I'm loving video games. My range of gaming is quite limited at the moment, but after seeing a boatload of gaming-related videos, I'm doing my best to expand my collection. However, two of the most annoying fan bases in gaming, at least from what I've heard, are the Pokemon fan base and the Sonic fan base. One part of the Pokemon fan base are the Gen 1ers, a group of people who believe that the original Pokemon games, Red, Blue, and Yellow, are the best Pokemon games and that all other games that came after it were crap. Now that itself is crap. And many other people believe so as well, some more colorfully than others. But some of these fans have ran so much that Gen 1 games are so terrible and outdated that they themselves have become an annoying fan base. Me, well, even though I haven't played the games in a long time, I'm in the middle. Heck, Pokemon Red was the first game that I ever beat. I could recognize it's good and it's bad. Then we come to the Sonic fanbase. Again, there are two sides. The first side are the ones who believe that the original trilogy on the Sega Genesis are the best and only good games in the franchise. But then again, there are many who disagree. Heck, I've even found some people who actually like the infamous Sonic 06. But once again, some take it too far and automatically rage on anyone who complains about any of the 3D games, especially with Sonic's newest adventure, Lost World. Since I don't own a Wii U, I can't say much about it, but again, I see both sides. The point? Well, we all have our own opinions. Whether we like something or not, try it and listen to what the others have to say. I may not like everyone's opinion, but I do what I can to respect it. I might not have convinced you today that Hero Factory is not as bad as you may believe, but at least respect my opinion and anyone else who may disagree. Complaining about Hero Factory 24/7 is not going to make the theme better. If anything, the quality will go down. You have your view, I have mine. Is it worth complaining about? No. And hopefully, just a little, that this understanding will make this world a better place. Boy, was that cliched. I'm Shade 2800, and I'm about to prep the army for anyone who's dumb enough to flame me.